So today we'll understand about environments. Basically, in software industry, we have three to four types of environments. First one we call it as dev environment or sandbox environment. Dev environment or sandbox environment. Second thing is going to be called as QA. Third one is going to be called as UAT or staging. Fourth one is going to be called as production. So, what is this dev or sandbox environment? What are we going to do there? Basically, in this environment, the application development will happen. What will be happen? The application development will be happen. This is owned by a or owned by the development team. So they do development and bug fixing in this environment. Okay, clear about this?
Yeah.
One second. Yeah. So now let's understand about what is meant by QA environment. In this environment, QA team, who is called as a testing team, responsible for validating or testing the application. Okay, what they'll do, they'll validate the application or they test the application completely and provide a sign off to the business teams. What they'll do, they test the application and they do provide sign off to the business team to ensure that application is working as expected or not. Next one is UAT or staging. Once the QA team certify the application, the business users will test the application in their environment and validate if the application is working fine or not. production is nothing but once the business users provide a sign off, the application will be available for usage in the real market. So all you want to understand is how the application is going to be developed, when the QA team is going to validate, how are you going to bring the application into the production, before production what is going to be happen. So each and every environment is going to be owned by different people. So dev or sandbox is going to be owned by dev team, QA is owned by QA team, UAT and production are going to be owned by your business users. So now what will be happen here is before any handover of the application to the QA team, the development team should validate the application in their dev code base. They have to check, they have to do preliminary testing and should ensure that all the features are working as expected or not. So they'll do some high level testing. They won't do all the possible scenarios, but rather they will be checking if the basic level scenarios are working as expected or not. If they are not working as expected, then they have to fix it. Okay, they have to do some preliminary testing from their end, and then once this testing is completed, they will be notifying the QA team that as per the schedule we have developed the features and we are giving the feature build to the QA team. So before accepting the build by the QA team, what QA team will do here is they will do some initial kind of testing, and that testing is going to be called as BAT. So when this is going to be happen, before handling the application from dev team to the QA team is responsible to perform this kind of testing, which is called as build acceptance testing. So or they'll conduct something called as smoke testing. What is that? Smoke testing. So these two tests prove that application is fit to use or not. If the application is not fit, QA team will not accept the application to test. So now understand what is smoke test. So for any questions you have? Swati, Ashita, Mahalakshmi.
Who will be performing this smoke testing? Mostly developers, right? Not
No,
the QA people, right? Right.
you have to do this. They'll just develop and they'll hand over you.
Okay.
Okay, after this line, everything should be done by you only.
Got it.
Got it? Clear?
Yes.
Next, what is meant by smoke testing? So, as a QA team, we should know what is the main functionality of an application, or get the information from the business users and understand what is the main functionality in the application. So whenever a new build is getting deployed by a dev team, QA team should run this smoke test and validate that the core functionality is working as expected or not. If this core functionality is not working, then raise an issue to the business team that core functionality is not working. So any questions in this about your smoke test? What you want to do? If someone comes and tell you that my application is developed and it is fit to deploy into QA environment, could you please start testing this application? Don't accept it blindly. Rather, what you want to do? You have to examine the application by conducting a small high-level test, and that test is going to be called as your smoke test. Any questions, Kausar, Kaushita?
Yeah, one quick question. So will this be the manual test only, or can this also be the automated test as well?
Yes, very good question you asked. Now you tell me, it should be a manual test or it should be a automation test. Just try to answer that. You try, I'll explain you. Now, see, when you start testing the application, you'll identify multiple issues, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So you will raise the issues to the development team. So now, whenever the development team is going to deploy the new build, you have to test, you have to execute the script. So I cannot promise how many times they'll deploy back. They'll be keep on deploying the build again and again, again and again and again. So doing the same task repeatedly by a human being is not that worthy, right? So rather, what we'll do, we'll develop a small application, a small script to validate the entire flow. So that flow will suggest if the core functionalities are working correctly as expected or not. So that's the reason we'll always automate smoke test as a automation testing script.
Okay. So one other question is, so we will be having a requirement for this functionality, and we'll get to test the smoke test, perform the smoke test. But like we will be keep on getting the new functionalities, right? So for every new functionality, we have to write one automated test scripts, right?
See, all the functionalities will never get automated. What we'll do, right? We'll create a flow which can cover all the modules. For individual functionality, we won't write. I'll help you in that.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you're clear about your smoke test? Now, in QA testing, what you are going to validate? In this QA environment, we'll validate the whole application and we call it as system testing. What do you call? We call it as what testing? System testing. Any questions on this system testing? System testing means anything? Any idea what do you mean by system testing? System testing is nothing but you are going to validate the whole application without any issues. We are going to validate the whole applications and validating if the application is working as expected or not. Okay, so we'll touch base each and every module. We'll touch base each and every functionality that is available. So we will not go and leave any feature that is available there. Okay, we'll validate everything. So in this QA environment, we'll validate the new functionality end to end and verify the features are working as expected or not. Okay, so end of the at the end will validate the regression of the application. So now ask me what is meant by regression testing. So regression testing is nothing but to ensure that old functionality is not getting break with the new deployments or with new features added to the application. Got it? So whenever a new functionality is going to be added or any functionality is going to be changed or any fixes are going to be happen, we have to ensure that all other old functionalities whatever we developed so far are working as expected or not. So doing that kind of testing we are going to be call it as your regression testing. So any questions? Again, this regression we cannot perform it manually, will be performed through automation only. Any questions that you have? Anyone?
Yeah, may I know the reason like why it cannot be like manual?
So there will be so many functionalities, right, Arshita? So say
Yes.
suppose in last sprint you have developed 5 features. Before that
Okay.
sprint you have developed 20 features. So on current sprint you have to validate current going features. So how
Yes.
can you complete it? You cannot do that one, right? And this
Yeah.
is repeatable every time.
Okay. Got it.
Got it, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This is the way how it will perform.
Hmm.
The next one is UAT staging. So here, once you define and tell the developer business team saying that my testing is completed, you go, please go ahead and start validating the application. If you tell like that, what will happen? Your business will take the application and they do their own kind of testing. So now, if they find any issue in this phase, then so many questions will fall back to the QA team. So what kind of testing you did here? How you validate the application? Why do you miss this scenario? So many questions will be fall from your manager, from business team. Everyone will be keep asking, why do you miss this? What is the reason for that? You have to publish your reason to the teams. So we should be very much careful to validate the application completely in the QA phase here. We should be focused completely to validate the application in the QA phase only. So in the UAT phase, we are going to deliver the application and the testing is going to be done by the business teams. So you have to keep observing how they are going to validate the application. You have to keep an eye how the business user is going to use the application. And if any issue comes, you have to view the RCA. RCA is nothing but root cause analysis. Why this bug is missed from our end? Did we miss the scenario or this scenario is very new? If it is very new, why business is testing like that? You have to understand it. So we have to be very thorough when the application is going to be validated by the business users. Any questions? Anyone?
No.
Right? Now, in production, we are not supposed to do any testing. We don't do any testing. We'll deploy the application and we'll do just a sanity test. Sanity test is nothing but just only we'll check whether the application is loading perfectly whether the user is able to navigate to each and every module or not. So the UI is loading correctly or not. So we'll do only high level testing. We don't do any complete testing on in your production environment. So we will be very careful while doing this. So this is all about your environments. Clear?
In UAT testing, what kind of testing they will do? They will do the entire system testing or
They do the
just
entire
has a
system testing in their own style because they know how to use the application. They know how this application will
Mhm.
be working in the production, like how the users will be use this application. They know how to get the money from this application. So they have their own style of testing. All you want to do here is observe how they are testing the application. Okay, you have to understand their footprints and you have to cover those things in the upcoming releases.
Okay.
Any questions? Any questions? Anyone?
No.
Okay, next one is what is a checklist? Any idea why we call checklist, where we use checklist? Anyone?
When we select multiple options in an application.
See, normally where do you use checklist in your regular life, daily life? మన లైఫ్లో మనం చెక్ లిస్ట్ ఎక్కడ వాడతాం? వేర్ డు వి యూస్ చెక్ లిస్ట్ ఇన్ అవర్ లైఫ్? ఎనీవన్? నో ఐడియా? Say suppose if I want to travel to any place, what I'll do? If not me, my wife will always have a checklist saying that did we pack all the bags? I'm holding the flight tickets, boarding pass, prior to headed to airport. Is my passport is available with my hand? So even if a student wants to go to write an exam, his or their parent, he or his parents will have a checklist whether my son is holding hall ticket, whether my son is holding pen and pencil in a box. So all these kind of things will be keep monitored by someone, right? So they have a list what to do and what not to do. Even if you give your car to a service center, they'll bring a big work note. Can you see that? Did you anytime observe it? They'll bring a big note saying that. So there'll be a list of checkboxes available. Before handing the vehicle to the customer, did you validate all these things? Is the engine is on? If the user is going to turn on a headlights, if the lights are glowing or not, horn is working, brakes are being applied. So there will be certain checklist which is going to help the people to cross check all the things are done properly before they hand over the application. So for us as a testing team, what is a checklist? Checklist is it is nothing but to check everything is covered or tested before we hand over the application. Before we hand over the application, if there are any open issues available, we need to raise the question telling that we have some open issues, but still we are allowed to send the application to the users. So what we are trying to do here is, while you are testing, you found some issues, but those issues are not that big issues, but still you are allowing the user to go and test it. Okay, we have to make a note what is working and what are not working. The things which are not working, we have to make the users to understand that, dude, while testing, if you found these kind of issues, please ignore. We already have an open issue for that. So checklist is nothing but which is going to help you to check everything is properly delivering to the next environment or not. So every time we always maintain a checklist. Now let's understand about what is a test case. Any idea? What do you mean by test case? Arshita? Anyone? Swati?
A sequence of
It's
steps
nothing
to
but step by
validate the
step
application.
process.
No. See. So test case is nothing but which helps you how to validate an application, how to validate an application feature. Okay, we should have an objective of what to test. You should have an objective of what to test. Okay, you should know what data to use. We should know where to test and how to test. So explaining all the above things in detail, we write a test case. Okay, so every test case will be look like this. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so every test case will be having a different format, depends upon the company and the projects. Okay, it is not 100% required you should write your test case in this particular format. It depends, and it will differentiate between user to user also, and it will differentiate between project to project also, differentiate between company to company also. But in interview, if they ask you to write any test case, so use this format, which is going to be very easy. Okay, so now what to write inside your test objective, what to write inside your test steps, and what are these expected results, actual results. Okay, let's see this one. So test objective is nothing but which is going to help you to tell what you want to test in the given feature or in the given requirement or in the given application. So what you want to validate. Okay, so always your test objective should be look like what to test, who to test, where to validate, when to validate, and how to validate. Okay, why to validate. So your test objective should have all these questions to get answer in depth. So what to test, who to test. So what to test is nothing but what is the function that you want to validate. Who to test is nothing but any user role specific, any user role specific is required to validate the application or not. So if there is no any user role specific, you can ignore it. If it is there, ask them for what kind of users this will be available, for what kind of users this is not going to be available. Where to validate is nothing but location or position in the application. When to validate is nothing but is there any event to trigger? Is there any event to trigger? For example, if I'm going to check a checkbox, I need to validate one error message or I need to validate some message. So now my objective is to validate that message. But when that message is going to be displayed, only if I check a checkbox, then only that message will be get displayed. So that is nothing but your when to validate. When user check the checkbox, validate so and so message is getting displayed under this particular label. So that is what you are going to explain when to validate and how to validate. And why to validate is, say suppose if any transaction is going to get cancelled, you have to validate the error message is getting displayed or not. So why to validate is nothing but we are going to tell that is it required or not. Yes, it is required. Transaction cancellation is required. Transaction approval is required. Transaction keeping the transaction in progress is required. So we have different stages for everywhere, right? So if it is required or not, you have to taking care of that. Clear? Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay, so that is nothing but your test objective. So always your test objective should be very clear. So now see here they're trying to verify the forget your password link is working as expected or not. See here, verify the field forget your password. Where is this forget your password is going to come? Somewhere here.
Like it will be there in footer, right?
Wait, yes, you're right. Let's see that.
Below the image. Sorry, login.
Now see here, you want to validate this forget your password. So where this forget your password is going to be displayed on login panel under your login button. So that is what the see here verify the field forget your password is displayed as a link. So we are validating if this forget your password is displayed as a link or not. As a link where under login button on login page under your login button on this particular page. So your objective is very clear and explaining them what to validate, where to validate, how to validate. Got it? Clear, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. And now steps are nothing but how are you going to achieve your objective? So first I need to launch my browser, then I have to enter the URL, then I have to wait for a while, and then I have to observe my login module. On this login module, I have to go to this login module. Under that login button, the field forget your password should display as a link. We have to write in detail for each and every test objective. Steps, data and expected result. So actual result is nothing but when we are going to update this actual result. So once you start executing your test scripts, then this accurate results will be get filled. Got it? Questions? Anyone? Any questions you have?
No.
Clear? So now what you guys can do here is today I'll give a small task to you. Go to this Orange HRM application. Okay, each one of you take one module. So Ashita, can you take this admin module?
Okay.
Okay. And others take one module. Swati, you can take PIM, PIM. Okay.
Sure.
And Kosar, you can take leave module, and others, Mahalakshmi can take time module.
Okay.
Time module. Okay. So
Okay.
please start writing your test case. And these test cases will be get automated by you only. For example, if you see here, first cover all the UA display cases. So this username should available as what? Should be look like a text box. Correct?
Yes.
And user role should be displayed as how?
Default.
No, user role should be displayed as a drop down with the default value as select.
Okay.
Okay. Next one is employee name. So first write all the UI display condition for each and every field. Next, yesterday I told you that on top of each and every field, what kind of validations you can perform. So on text box, what you can validate? Can you see here? I told you yesterday. You have to check all the other type of testing that you can validate or not. So write all the possibility ways of writing test case on each and every field. First one is UI. Next one, as I said you, that each and every type, try to cover all of them. If it is a button, try to cover all this type of testing. If it is a link, try to cover all this type of testings. Make sense?
Yes.
Any questions or any help is required?
No, just we'll have a try. We'll
Yeah.
write the case test.
Just try to write your cases there, and that will be helpful to you. So we'll discuss like what is the issue that is going through.
Okay.
Okay. So from tomorrow onwards, or day before or day after tomorrow onwards, we'll start with your automation basics. Okay. So by then you have to complete this. Just try to write it. No problem. If you're writing mistakes also, no problem. We'll correct them. I'll send you this template to you guys. I'll attach into the dashboard today. Okay. You can have this template as a reference and you can write your test cases. Is that okay? Fine with everyone?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clear? Yeah. So with this, I'll take a break.